Hey, so today I just wanted to make a video to call out the Bitcoin community, um, at least a big portion of it, about the current soft fork going on. There's not much coverage about it. Very few channels and individuals are really making a stand, and I myself have waited way too long to make this video. Yeah, the soft fork is taking effect this Saturday, August 8th, I believe, and yeah, like channels such as Simply Bitcoin, Swan Bitcoin, Adam Livingston has barely really covered this and even taken a position. Luke Boyles, or at least I don't know how you pronounce his name, but there's just all these big channels that have not taken it seriously, and I think that it's a major red flag that the Bitcoin community has either been too mainstream or has become too mainstream to where people aren't diving into technical issues that could affect first principles about why Bitcoin is better than any other, not only form of money, but also any other cryptocurrency. So I'll start off with what is BIP 110. So this is a Bitcoin improvement protocol that is essentially aiming to reduce the amount of data per transaction. So you can see here that I'm actually running Bitcoin Knots, and I was actually inspired to download or to not only get the Bitcoin software downloaded and run it at a server at home because of BIP 110, but it also has helped me craft essentially a future business plan that I'm going down. But my point being in this is that it's an opportunity for us Bitcoiners to really dive deep on why we have the beliefs we have about Bitcoin and stand behind those principles so that they're not corrupted. So Bitcoin is meant to be money, not to be a data storage site for people. So essentially, about a year ago, there was a change to the Bitcoin consensus, essentially, where someone or the Bitcoin Core community, Bitcoin Core developers, released Bitcoin Core 30, which blew open the op returns, which, long story short, I'm not a technical person either, increased the amount of data you could associate with each transaction. So if, in the past you could write a couple lines saying, "Oh, I'm sending this to my dad," and then it's logged in the Bitcoin blockchain. It's only a couple bytes of information. It's not really a significant amount, but I believe that the op returns were increased by a measure of 1,000-fold, which is a huge concern. We can see here that the Bitcoin blockchain has already been dramatically accelerating in its size, right? Over the last year, since when I downloaded Bitcoin for the first time, it was around 750 gigabytes back in like the October when I had it first, and I've seen that in the last year it's already gone up over 100 gigabytes. And for reference, it took around 15 to 16 years for Bitcoin to reach 750 gigabytes. If we keep going in this direction, we're going to have a major issue to where people such as myself, even in a first world country, I live in the United States, aren't going to be able to comfortably afford, or even afford it at all, running one of these servers at home, one of the Bitcoin nodes. And on top of that, not only does it increase the demand or the cost for memory, which is also associated with AI, obviously going up, but also the RAM cost or the RAM necessities for Bitcoin node operators will as well increase. So if it continues on this trajectory, then not like when we're looking at the strengths of Bitcoin, we don't want the only people to afford this being in first world countries, because then if a few countries come together and decide to ban it, then we're in major hot water. But if every country across the world has access to, or the citizens of these countries have access to running a node, mining Bitcoin, then it makes it exponentially more difficult for these groups to organize and dismantle Bitcoin. So that's the major thing. BIP 110 has been conveyed to the public through mainstream channels as a form of censorship, but in reality, it's just to censor. Censor is not even the right word. To remove the opportunity for people to include data that's not relevant to transactions, such as like GIFs, images, memes, right? As such as Gloria Zhao, the person who actually pushed this contentious update, said, right? She's like, oh, if you don't like memes, cat gifs, all that kind of stuff, just go somewhere else, right? But it's just it really does. I mean, and not to mention, she already had a negative opinion of Bitcoiners, so there's a huge rot in the Bitcoin core development team when you consider the fact that a lot of them don't even own Bitcoin. They don't have nodes. They don't have miners, right? So they're kind of just like a group of techies who may or may not even care about Bitcoin, getting paid to update the software, right? And to them, updates are updates. They're not really concerned about the longevity of Bitcoin. But when Bitcoin was created by Satoshi, it was designed in such a way to where it was there were negative feedback loops, and the incentives to protect Bitcoin were aligned with the users of Bitcoin, the miners of Bitcoin. Well, not so much the miners, but really the node operators, which in the past, node operation and Bitcoin mining were the same thing. Satoshi didn't expect, these ASICs and graphic card mining, all that stuff. So to make a long story short, I think that BIP 110 is essentially just a way to maintain Bitcoin as money and protect it from bad actors. A lot of people have talked about C-spam, which is essentially inappropriate images potentially being uploaded to Bitcoin because of this Bitcoin Core 30 update. And thankfully, there hasn't been any of that in the past. With other hard forks on Bitcoin, it has become an issue, such as with Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision, BSV. Within a couple months of them essentially pushing a similar update, there was these inappropriate images added to it, and now node operators of this coin permanently have to download and maintain, and hopefully never have to open those images. But it becomes very questionable very quickly. So my intention is to spread awareness of this issue, because there's not enough people actually doing that. I have to give a shout out to Bitcoin University, Matthew Crater. He's the guy who really inspired me to get a Bitcoin node and take this seriously. But I think that we need to come around this as a community. We need to do the research. We need to critically think about what we want out of Bitcoin and who has been exerting influence on Bitcoin. Because if we don't become self-aware on these issues, then I think that that's one of the only attack vectors still available to destroy Bitcoin. There's another attack vector that I've identified that I am actively changing my life to actually to address. It's going to be a business pursuit of mine to make sure that there's no bad actors in that space. But for now, I'm just trying to play my part and be on the right side of history, and hopefully influence others to do the research and do the introspection for themselves. So if you want Bitcoin to stay decentralized, if you want Bitcoin to be money, and if you want Bitcoin to be permissionless, with governments, for example, uh, BIP 110 is very important, and yeah, please take it upon yourself to actually start running Bitcoin knots. If you have the capacity, even mine a little bit of Bitcoin at home. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just exerting hash rate onto the network is important in this time. It's a way to vote. So Bitcoin's not only money; it's also a political network. So without creating your own block templates, such as Bitcoin knots and the datum protocol with ocean mining allow us to do, without being able to actually do that, then we're not actually voting. You can be mining Bitcoin, but you're not actually voting, right? If you're mining with one of these huge pools, such as like via BTC, the Spider Pool, all these other things, um, you're just contributing electricity to get Bitcoin rewards, but you're not actually um, participating in consensus policy. I implore everyone to take it upon themselves, because it's not as Saylor says, right? Unfortunately, I've been disillusioned by Michael Saylor recently, even though he was one of the people who opened my eyes to how to think about Bitcoin. I think that he's gone down a bad path of greed and perhaps arrogance, to where he appreciates the economic impact of Bitcoin, but he doesn't understand how we can actually change the world with Bitcoin. So please do your research. Leave me any comments if you want me to explain any further, or if you have any other video suggestions. But yeah, in this time, just do your best to help.